Well, there you go. They beat up a team that they probably should. But what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another post game here on Rangers Central. The Rangers on the second half of their back-to-back go into Chicago and win it as they win by a final score of 6-2 today. And yeah, they took care of business. It looked ugly early. It looked ugly at the end, but they got a good amount of goals. They were able to hold on to the lead, and they get the job done against a team. And now people are looking at the standings, seeing they're 3 points back, looking at a depleted Dallas team coming up on the schedule, looking at New Jersey, who has their goaltender injured right now. So fans are getting a little bit excited here of the idea that, oh, 3 points back, maybe they're going to get themselves back into it. To me, they're still so far away from that I'm not going to sit here and, get my hopes up with that, because to be honest with you, there's still so many teams ahead of them that they would need to pass. Like Ottawa is still there, and they have a game in hand. Columbus is even in front of them. Pittsburgh, Montreal, Detroit, Philly, and Detroit's starting to heat up. They have all these teams in front of them that I'm not going to sit here and get ready to say they're back and they're going to make the playoffs, but definitely a performance that they needed to have against this team. It's just that simple. When you're playing the Chicago Blackhawks, who are the 32nd ranked team in the league, and even though this team looks like the Rangers, that is, look like they are a bottom barrel team right now, they should be beating this team regardless, because they have guys that realistically should be playing in the AHL right now on their roster. Arvid Soderblom was a complete mess for the Blackhawks today, and the Rangers capitalized on that. You saw Johnny Brodzinski really come into the mix today and set the stage there for that, because you see him shoot the puck, and all of a sudden this team is like, oh, well, if we shoot the puck on Arvid Soderblom, maybe we could actually score. And honestly, I'm 50-50 on Brodzinski as a player, because there are times he's just absolutely invisible to me, and then there's times he's doing that. But I don't know, after today, he definitely earned a spot in the next game, in my opinion. He filled in for Kreider today, who was injured, of course. So I would put Brodzinski in the lineup next game, though. Why not at this rate? But yeah, you had to capitalize on this type of goalie, man. You had to. I mean, Will Borgen was able to get on the board. You had Phil Peedle get a beautiful snipe. You had one go off his ass later on, and then Riley Smith had that breakaway, which Mika Zibanejad all of a sudden is doing stuff at 5-on-5 right now, which how long will that last? I don't know, but this is reminding me of the beginning of the season, where the offense was producing at a clip that was just so high, where you again wonder, how much is it going to last? How much is it going to sustain as we go throughout the remainder of the season? Who the hell knows? But all I know is that, Mika Zibanejad, I mean, he was able to produce at 5-on-5 today. And I'm not even gonna waste my time with this. But either way, they and this is another thing too. I'm not even gonna get into the whole Igor debacle with that one. But yeah, Louis Domingue played a solid game today, and that blew my mind. Which there were a couple of plays where he threw a stick at one point, and he's looking a little bit all over the place in the crease. But yeah, I mean, right now, or Louis Domingue rather, he actually stepped up. He actually stepped up and played a respectable game, and there were a couple of quality opportunities that he faced that he had to stop as well, especially in the first few minutes when Chicago was just swarming them, and this team looked horrendous defensively, and especially in the third period, I thought they lost their edge, or they lost a step in their game, is what I mean to say. They lost a step in their game, and I thought that Chicago had a couple of high-quality chances, and you had Louis Domingue stepping up and stopping a good amount of those, so there is that for you. And I know that you're saying this, we're just a little better than Chicago, so stop saying it's Chicago. But when you look at the talent on paper on both teams, you should be destroying this Blackhawks team. Like, the Blackhawks right now are employing a lot of guys that are either rookies trying to make a name for themselves right now, or veterans that no other team really wanted, or they overpaid for, because I shouldn't disrespect Bertuzzi, who's on a really good run himself right now with, I think, 6 goals in those last 7 they showed. But yeah, I don't want to completely dispute what he's been doing. But yeah, it's just that simple that you should be beating this team. Should be beating this team. We got Dirk saying if Igor is in, they would have lost the game. I don't know if they would have lost the game just because of the fact that Soderblom did not play great, but I'd say there's an argument that it would have been a little closer. That I could get behind, that it would have been a little bit closer, because when you're scoring 6 goals, I know Igor wasn't sharp the last time we saw him, and hasn't been for a bit lately, but I just don't think that, I don't know, I don't see him allowing 6 against this team. Because Chicago was generating virtually nothing in this game. I mean, they could not break the puck out of their own end at all. They were struggling heavily to get through the middle of the ice at points in this game. There was a lot of slop with their game. Connor Bedard, he was, man, I don't know if that's like the norm with him, because I'm not in tune with the Blackhawks entirely, which we have a special guest that will be able to answer some of these questions for me coming on here very shortly. But Connor Bedard, he was leaving a lot of passes in the middle of the ice as well. But he did have that one play earlier in the game on the goal where, which Mika was being a little lazy on, which again, it's hard to fully critique Mika today, considering the fact that listen, as much as I rip on Mika, I could give him a little bit of credit today, honestly. And that's something I rarely say. You guys know me, but I could honestly give him credit for today's game. I think he actually played a respectable game for the most part today. But yeah, that's really all there is to it, honestly. And yeah, that the pass he had to Smith was really nice. I can't lie. Cannot lie. And Adam Fox played a bit better today, which again, he had the lapse early on in the game. I thought after that he settled in pretty nicely. There are still some of the usual slop here and there. There are still things that I didn't like, where I'm watching them just refusing to get the puck in deep, refusing to work on the forecheck and grind, especially against a Chicago team, which you should be doing all that stuff against. You really should. There were plays in the D zone where I'm questioning what the hell are we doing. Like Keandre Miller at one point just coughing the puck up, just playing with it in the defensive zone for whatever reason, or like in the neutral zone. I forgot if it was the defensive zone or the neutral zone. It was like borderline there, but either way, there were a couple of plays where I'm still like, what the hell are we doing here? But like I said, my bar is lower right now, so they did what they should be doing. They did what they should be doing right now, which is beating up on the 32nd ranked team. And if they couldn't do that, if they lost today, I mean, that really would have opened up the conversations even further about what needs to be done, because there's a lot still. I mean, there's still a lot that needs to be done. That doesn't change my opinion on it, but that really would have, like, I honestly think that would have pushed something happening to the brink further. And I could be wrong on that one. I have been wrong with that. I thought Laviolette was going to get fired like 10 games ago at this point. But either way, if they lost today, that would have been, I think that would have been the nail in the coffin for something to be done. To what degree, I don't know, but I'm just saying. But yeah, Mika for Patterson. Still would love that. I hope Vancouver's doing their scouting on Mika Zibanejad right now in these games. But that would be great. That would be great. And I saw someone comment earlier about Lafreniere. Where was the one I wanted to pull up? Something about how, here it is. Yeah, they scored 6 goals and none for Lafreniere. There were times he needs to start. He didn't shoot the puck at all. He was not shooting the puck still enough at all. There was that one opportunity, I think it was in the first period, where he's got to shoot. He has to shoot. And I know I'm right there with you, but I'm not gonna sit here and do what I've been doing, honestly, with the whole like the ugly win type deal, because it's just like, again, my bar is a little bit lower at this point. That's just what it is. But we do have a special guest coming in who could speak from the other side of things. He was on the show last year to do a co-stream for the Rangers Blackhawks. We got Nick from Windy City Hockey. If any of you are interested in additional hockey coverage, if you're interested in hearing about the Blackhawks, Nick is your man. What's going on?
I was supposed to be at that terrible effort by the Hawks today. I guess that was a good... I guess the snow and ice made it a little bit better, not going to another 6-2 loss in the same week, because I was just at the Winter Classic.
Yeah, another ass kicking going out of the way for an ass kicking.
It's brutal, and for right now for the Blackhawks, they've been blown out way too many times since they had a 3-game win streak, and this adds to it. I just filmed my own review on the side, and wow. I laid into them for once. I rarely do get into rant mode, but I'm pretty livid right now what I'm witnessing with Chicago.
You're way better than me that you haven't ripped into them until this point, because holy crap, if I was a fan of that team right now, I would be like, the chat knows that how I am, even when this team is like respectable in the standings. Holy crap, I'd be losing my mind, because just even like sitting back and just watching some of the slop that the Blackhawks were displaying today, I was just like, what the hell is going on with this team? And I just don't understand it when they brought in some of these veterans that should be better than they are. Like, Tyler Bertuzzi's been on a solid run so far. They gave Foligno the extension. I thought he was okay today, but like, I don't know. I don't understand what's going on. Like, Teuvo Teravainen was brutal today, in my opinion. Seth Jones is a tire fire.
Ever since Jones came back from injury, he's been a tire fire.
Yeah, he was pretty brutal today. And then just like some of these young guys, it's just like you need to see a step forward from some of them.
Mm-hmm. It's bad. I get it. For me, I knew it was going to be a kind of a rough season, but not this bad of a season on Chicago's side, because I predicted the Hawks to have a 25-point increase from last season. So that would have put them at 75 points this year. It's not going to happen the way they look. It's bad. The Rangers, I've watched a lot of Rangers games this year, and man, seeing them beat the Hawks the way they did, it didn't surprise me. Granted, it does surprise me the way they've been playing in the last like month and a half.
Yeah, I remember when you were in my stream a couple days ago and you're just like, they're going to kick the Blackhawks ass. And I'm like, I think this game's going to be closer than you think, but I can't even believe. I'm stunned that the Rangers even blew them out. I thought that this was just going to be like a high scoring. I thought it was going to be like 6-5 or like 5-4, something like that. And this is true also. Craig Smith, I mean, that's a guy that I wanted the Rangers to get at one point. He had a terrible game too. He was turning the puck over way too much. That line in general was just brutal.
This may have been Craig Smith's worst game as a Chicago Blackhawk, actually. He's been pretty solid this season. He's just coming back from injury. This is his third game back from injury. He returned from injury at the Winter Classic. played well the last game against Montreal, and then today he just looked like he's still trying to find his way back.
Yeah, he definitely didn't look right at all. That line in general was just like, I mean, Pat Maroon too. That line just did not look great for you guys today
They
at
need
all.
Reichel back out on that fourth line, because it seemed like when Reichel with Maroon and Smith together, that's been our most consistent line this year. And they've healthy scratched Reichel for the last 2 games now, and that line just hasn't looked quite right without him.
Yeah, it's and yeah, Smith surprised me, reminded me a lot of I'm assuming you're talking about DeAndre Miller, even though they're different positions, just with the turnovers nonstop. But yeah, it's just bad. It really is. And then even Bedard's play has just been like, you want a little more there. You want a little more from him at points. And he got on the board tonight with a point, but I was noticing a lot of turnovers. I was noticing him like trying to cheat the game a bit at points too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what's up with that. Is that like the norm with him, or?
It seemed like in the last couple of games, like last game, definitely not. Today's game, yes. The Winter Classic, yeah. It's probably the last 3 of the last 4 games I've been seeing it a little bit more with him, but he is on a 7-game point streak. He's been producing for the Hawks offensively. It's the fact he has been coughing up the puck a little bit too much lately.
Yeah, it's similar to what we see here a lot with Panarin. I mean, he was doing it, and I agree with this comment. Panarin absolutely needs to sit for a game. He needs to sit, and it's not gonna happen after a win, obviously, but he's just looked. He just does not look engaged at all.
Invisible today.
He's been invisible the past few games. It's been bad, and the refusal to get pucks in deep, especially when you have a guy like Trocheck on your line that should be willing to go in and win the board battles. I don't understand it. I just don't, and it's been going on way too much. But, yeah, that's gotta change. And Zach Jones is still sitting in the press box, JT, because that's just what it is right now. And I don't think he's going to, unless there's an injury at this point, I don't think he's coming back in the lineup. I think Ryan Lindgren could get away with murder, and Zach Jones won't be in the lineup for him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Panarin's been a turnover machine. It's just really annoying, and the effort in the defensive zone, I mean, you still saw it at points with that line in general. The second line, I mean, as much as that line produced last season, as much as they produce every now and then in their own ends, brutal.
Mm-hmm. Trying to see here. Was Kreider healthy scratched again, or was he actually injured?
They said day to day. I don't know. I got a lot of shit on Twitter because I don't know if I buy it. To me, I feel like it was a cover up for it, and his line was producing, but I do feel like it was also a thing where they wanted to sit him for a game, and they just said, he's day to day. I don't know. I could be wrong with that one, but they labeled it day to day, so I'm not entirely sure there. And yeah, the Rangers did what they should have done, beating up on the Hawks. No line in hockey fails to cover the point as much as that second line. It's incredible how much Lafreniere and Panarin just look lost in the D zone. It's truly incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not disagreeing with you. Listen, I get that there was slop in today's win, but at this point, like, this is who they are. So it's just like, I'm not going to sit here and get as mad as I've been over it. And I wouldn't say this after the game today, honestly. Like, as much as I have critiqued Mika a lot and as much as he's played poorly, I disagree with this entirely. I don't think Mika needs to sit right now. I think he actually has been.
He looked solid compared to the last game the Hawks played you guys.
Yeah, he was definitely better. That one play, the play on the first goal was terrible and inexcusable, but I thought he was fine besides that today.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, this is true as well. And that's why I really thought that this was going to be a close game too, because I thought that with the way the Rangers are defensively, I thought the Blackhawks just got to muster a few on Louis Domingue and they could at least keep this a competitive game. But I was wrong entirely. They couldn't even like break the puck out of their own end the entire game.
Yeah. The Hawks just seemed like they couldn't even the Hawks were stuck in the neutral zone or the defensive zone pretty much the entire game, except for the third period, it felt like, because the third period, it seemed like the Hawks started to turn on their game a little bit by generating some chances. It was just nothing from this team, though, that I don't trust this Hawks team enough to actually say I can go in confidently to say this team can win a game. Right now, they're the worst team in the NHL for a reason, and it's because how they put this roster together.
Yeah, it's just so bizarre because I picked the Hawks to finish last in that division, but I thought that they would be like better than the Sharks, better than the Ducks, and still finish like in that territory. I thought they'd be just like bottom 10 versus bottom 5. This is just I can't understand it at all. I mean, at least there's pieces to move at the deadline to get some assets back for, but I don't know how much you're gonna get for some of them because the UFAs, Taylor Hall, you can maybe get a solid return for. Donato, maybe you get like a 3rd round pick for him. Pat Maroon, maybe you get like a 5th
round, maybe.
6th. Yeah, and then Craig Smith's probably like a 4th. And then Alec Martinez, which maybe if he was playing, the Hawks would have won since that guy just lives in my nightmares, but we're not going to get into that one.
Martinez is not the same player he used to. He's
washed.
Any team sees Martinez, if they get him, they're going to just throw him in as their 7th defenseman. He's washed. He gave me nightmares for years too. Don't forget, he did the same thing to the Hawks that same playoff run in 2014.
At least you guys rebounded the next year.
I saw someone ask about Frank Nazar.
Yeah, I was about to bring that one up.
Nazar, today he got his 2nd point of the game, but he generates a ton of offense for the Hawks. He's been playing well. He hasn't gotten the goal yet. He has 1 goal in his now 14-game NHL career. He scored that goal in his NHL debut at the end of last season. But since he got called up, he's generated a ton of offense. It's just not going in because this Hawks team does not know how to score goals.
Yeah, and it's hard when right now, I mean, Teuvo Teravainen, he just is what he is. And Colton Dach, I thought Colton Dach actually played a solid game. I actually liked his game quite a bit today.
Yeah, Dach has this is his 2nd game in the NHL. He played against Montreal the other night, and man, he played great the game against Montreal. 5 shots, 5 hits in that game alone in like 12 minutes and 50 seconds played. Seeing him get promoted to the first line with Bedard and Bertuzzi in the later half of the game, I noticed he brings something this team has been missing, which is a true power forward. And I really like what Colton Dach has brought.
Yeah, he's looked really solid so far. And We got another question for you. Who are you hoping for in the draft?
Well,
Good question, since there's really no clear number one guy right now. I mean, it's probably going to be Higgins, but
Porter Martone also is on my list. Higgins, probably, if he goes first overall and the Hawks are selecting first overall, I will take him. But I really want to see the Hawks pick up a big forward because we have a ton of small forward prospects.
yeah, that's fair. I think that in the later rounds could grab some of those guys,
Yeah.
which this draft isn't that deep this year, but I'm sure that there's going to be some diamonds in the rough late. There just always is. Shouldn't Foligno be a power forward guy? Has some snarl with skill.
He is a power forward guy, but he's not like, he doesn't bring what like Colton Dock would bring per se. Doc, he is that true original, like a prototypical power forward you used to see back in like the 2000s, where you can compare them to a prime Marian Hossa, a prime Dustin Brown, players like that type of power forward. Nick Foligno is the more so modern type of power forward where they have some skill and goes to the front of the net. But I personally would say you with like Colton Dock, he's like that big body power forward the Hawks have been missing for a while.
It's just funny hearing like you guys talking about the opposite over there, that you guys need bigger forwards, and then us it's just like, can we please get guys that could actually skate? Because it just they have nobody. The lack of team speed outside of like Brett Berard on this team is just brutal.
The Hawks have a lot of small forwards that skate well that are in the prospect group. From Oliver Moore, obviously. Can't wait to watch the gold medal game to see if he can get a second in a row this year. But the Hawks really could use some forwards that have some size on their team right now.
Could we interest you in Matt Rempe?
Definitely not. I don't want that clown in Chicago. I do not like Rempe.
It wore off. It wore off very quickly. The whole the Rempe thing. It was hilarious though when he scored the first goal of that series last year. Yeah. That was just fucking hilarious. But hey, if you want Matt Rempe, go ahead, because I'm just tired. I'm tired of watching the guy come up and down through the organization, and it's just like we need his physical presence of 3 minutes of slamming himself into the glass, because that's gonna do so much.
Yeah, that's going to do anything for you guys. Throw yourself into the boards.
And then take a 5-minute major and just completely hold
this
team back. Yeah, that's how. I can't with that. Do I think the Rangers will be sellers at the deadline? I can't answer this because they now put themselves in a position where they're 3 points out of a playoff spot. Do I think they're going to make their way back up? No, I think that Detroit's playing way better than them. I think that even Montreal has been playing better than them lately. And I still think that there are just so many teams ahead of them that are better right now. And even behind, I would argue that I think the Islanders honestly could maybe pass them just because of their loser points. But either way, there are just so many teams that, and with the schedule coming up, it's going to be tough because you have Dallas, you have New Jersey, which again, those are teams that are a little more banged up right now that maybe you could beat. But we've also seen them not be able to beat New Jersey at all this year. Even though Markstrom's been a big part of that, it just, we've seen the inability for it. Dallas, maybe they could beat, but Vegas, they're probably not beating. Colorado, probably not. And then it lightens up a bit, but I don't know. It's hard to answer that question right now, but they're in a spot where they could maybe. claw themselves back into it, but am I counting on it? No. And would I sell either way? Yes, because even if they make the playoffs, I'm sorry, I just don't see this team beating the Leafs in round one if they play them, or the Capitals in round one, who have just completely destroyed them every single time that they've played them so far this year. And honestly, I'd be even more afraid of the Maple Leafs right now. They have something going for them, and I cannot believe I'm saying that about them, but Craig Berube has them playing so much better right now.
Yeah.
What's your take on the Toews situation? Do we think a team would take him if he's interested to come back? I have no clue. I can't answer that one.
The Toews situation I've been following very closely on. If I ever see Jonathan Toews wearing another uniform that's not a Blackhawk uniform, personally, I think it would be wrong because he's still the captain of Chicago Blackhawks hockey. If I see him end up going to Winnipeg,
Detroit.
I could see that team actually make a run for him. I've also heard rumors that Colorado is interested in him. But I really don't, in my opinion, Jonathan Toews shouldn't be risking his health more at this point. He's 36 years old. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer, and he will end up being put into the Hall of Fame. Honestly, if he doesn't sign with the team this year or next year, he's eligible for the Hall of Fame that coming summer. And I'm like, I personally would rather see Toews just call it a career, keep focus on his health, and just maybe if he wants to be back in hockey, do like a front office type of role.
Yeah, I agree with that. He's already won so much in this league too that it's just like, is it worth coming back and risking potentially a even more significant injury, more than you already have, just to maybe win one more time, which it would be cool to see him back in the NHL, but you're right about that it would also be so weird not seeing him play for the Hawks. It was already weird enough to see Kane probably go elsewhere, which imagine the two of them in Detroit together. That'd be nuts. But I don't think he'd go there just because of the fact that they're not really closer to contention compared to the other teams you mentioned there. Do I think the Rangers try to claim Kaliev? I don't know. If he's available, I would. By the time the Rangers are up in the waiver wire, if he's still there, I'd like them to claim him, because I'm in the mindset of this team right now. It's just like I view them more as a bottom feeder than a top end team. So I'd rather them just try to take a flyer on a younger guy and see if there's something with him. But I don't know if he reaches the Rangers. Honestly, I think that there's going to be a couple other teams like the Blackhawks.
I really think the Hawks will end up going after him.
I could totally see that. I could see that. I could see the Sharks. I could see plenty of these other bottom feeding teams jumping in before the Rangers even get the chance to. If he's there, I would like them to claim him, but I just don't know if I see him getting to the Rangers.
The Hawks will be the first team eligible to claim anyone off waivers, because being dead last in the league, you get opportunity to claim whoever goes on waivers. But the Hawks haven't done a waiver claim this year, and I'm waiting for someone. And a 23-year-old right winger with a lot of size, cheap deal to replace Pat Maroon when we potentially trade him at the deadline. I'm like, Kyle Davidson should claim him off waivers.
Yeah, I think that this is a slam dunk. I mean, he's 23 years old. It's just, you might as well see if you could get something out of him. Yeah, and this also I didn't mention. Ottawa's still going to be there when Olmark comes back, and this is really the point too that the Rangers have like 3 wins against teams above the playoff line still this year. It
Really?
They beat Boston, Toronto earlier in the year, which that feels like forever ago. And then Dallas. I think that's it for the teams that they've beat above the playoff line. I'd have to fact check that, but if anyone in the chat has the answer, let me know with that one. But I'm pretty sure that that's it. And this is probably true. As much as I would like the Rangers to sell, Drury's too stubborn to do that, most likely. So it's a moot point, but it really depends. I mean, if they slip far enough down the standings, then they're going to be in a position where there's no choice. If they slip back like to where they were a couple weeks ago, where it was like 7-8 points below the playoff line, then they are probably going to sell. And this stretch of games is really going to dictate that, because a lot of difficult teams, and like we just laid out, they've only beat 3 teams above the playoff line. I have a hard time seeing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, stubborn owner, incompetent GM, weak coach. What could go wrong?
Oh, that's the Chicago Bears also summed up in a nutshell.
That's true. Leaf players are buying into Berube's system, but what matters about the Leafs is how they do in the playoffs. Exactly, yeah. They've shown they can't be trusted, and they are like the Dallas Cowboys. Pretty much, yeah. And it's really going to come down to how much how well they could play in front of Anthony Stolarz for an entire playoff series. But I do think they have a scenario lined up, honestly, where they could tandem at least, because last year they would have beat Boston if it wasn't for Samsonov. I think they would have absolutely beat Boston, because Wool ended up getting hurt there, and that cost them heavily. If they had him, or if they had Stolarz last year, I honestly think they beat Boston. And Florida, they probably lose to, but they definitely would have beat him, in my opinion. Boston, that is.
I agree.
And I know this too, that ownership won't let the Rangers be sellers at the deadline. But like I said, I mean, if they're far enough out, they're at least going to move the pending UFAs out, because at that point, like, is Dolan going to cry that Riley Smith and Jimmy Vesey are getting moved? Like, boo-hoo if that's the case.
I honestly forgot Jimmy Vesey was even a human.
He was invisible today too, yeah. He's so streaky. It doesn't make sense with him. I just don't view him as like a solid fourth liner at all. I've never felt that way, but like it's just weird. He puts up the counting numbers where it's just like you see 26 points last year, 25 the year before, and you think, yeah, you're getting good production from him, but then you realize a lot of that's in bunches, or especially against the Toronto Maple Leafs, and you're like, oh, maybe he's not actually a legit fourth liner on a cup winning team. I don't know who you're referring to with this, Chris. You're gonna have to be specific with that. And sure, you could say it's not considered hardcore selling, but you're still trading.
Selling.
You're still trading off UFAs. It's selling to a degree.
I think the Rangers are in a position, if the trade deadline was this week, the Rangers would be in a position to be a soft seller, not a full-blown tear it down seller. They would just be like soft selling off their UFAs and just getting something for them. For instance, the Hawks, on the other hand, they're going to be hardcore sellers at the trade deadline.
Yeah, which I'm interested if they move anyone with term also that's there. Like, I don't know what you get for Mikheyev, but maybe you move him to if there's a good enough return out there. Same with Dickinson, but I don't know how much realistically you get there.
I think the Hawks like Mikheyev and Dickinson enough to just keep them around because it's just 1 year after this contract is up with them, and Dickinson seems to have a good voice for the locker room, and Mikheyev actually has worked well since picking him up by trading for him from Vancouver. He works well in the Hawks system. It's not worth getting rid of Mikheyev right now.
Yeah, I get that one, but if they're looking to move guys with term, I just look at those two. I think the guy that they could absolutely cash in on a lot if they want to move a guy with term is Connor Murphy.
Yep.
Because teams will be starving for right shot defensemen. Because I looked at right shot defensemen that are pending UFAs that could go to contenders. I saw Will Borgen, and that's it.
I will say Connor Murphy is on my watch to be traded list because I feel like he's on that list every year at this point. And this year, honestly, feels like this could be the year Murphy ends up getting moved for something. Hell, he's the second longest tenured Chicago athlete right now. Right behind Ian Happ in the Cubs.
There's no way.
He is.
How long has Connor Murphy been playing in Chicago?
The Blackhawks traded for Connor Murphy when they traded when they traded Nicholas Jarberson to the Coyotes on draft day 2017. I remember it vividly because they traded Nicholas Jarmerson for Connor Murphy to Arizona. And 5 minutes later, the Hawks traded Artemi Panarin to the Blue Jackets for Brandon Saad.
We can't forget Tyler Mott was in that trade. Shout out Tyler Mott. But
Tyler Mott was part of multiple Blackhawk trades.
He's been part of multiple Blackhawk trades, multiple Ranger trades. He's all over the place. We love Tyler Mott here. We're a Tyler Mott podcast here, but that's insane. I had no clue that he was the second longest tenured in Chicago. That does not feel even real.
Longest
or right.
tenured Blackhawk, second longest tenured Chicago athlete.
That doesn't feel right. There's like no one on the I guess with Kyle Hendricks gone too, it's like that. Because Kyle Hendricks probably had him beat, and he ended up going.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
Hendricks for a while was the longest tenured Chicago athlete. Then he's gone. It now moves to Ian Happ, and now it's Connor Murphy at number 2.
That doesn't even feel real. That's insane.
Third longest tenured is Philip Kurashev.
That's even more insane. What?
Yeah.
Wait, for the Blackhawks or for Chicago?
For Chicago.
Philip Kurashev? There's no way.
He made his NHL debut in the COVID season, and that's how much turnover it has been in Chicago sports.
Was Seth Jones there in 1920 or 2021?
Jones came to the Blackhawks and
because I thought Seth Jones was longer tenured.
Jones came into the Blackhawks.
Oh yeah, it was 21-22. This is insane. There's just that's nuts. There's just no way. Like Justin Steele had to have. No, he was 2021. So, I mean, unless you want to call it a draw there just because, but although 2020 technically, shit, wow. That's ridiculous. What about like Nico Horner? Not Nico Horner?
Oh,
Nico Horner,
Nico
2019. 2019 for Nico Horner.
Okay, Nico's ahead of Philip Kurashev. Okay.
That's still insane that we could even sit here and just like have that conversation that it's even close. That's nuts. Hopefully for the Cubs' sake, though, Kyle Tucker will be a long-tenured Cub because I don't want that guy anywhere near the Yankees. Please no.
He's a free agent, so highly doubt it because the Cubs are the Cubs and they tend to not keep good players around or pay players.
I hope that changes with Tucker. I don't want that guy anywhere near the Yankees. I'm sorry, Yankee fans in here, but please no. And yeah, Andrew Kopp also. Martin Kopp, that deadline, yeah. What do I think about what Messier said about the core being fractured? He's right. Or do I think he's right? He's 1,000% right. And no, that does not mean he should come in here and be the head coach. I just want to make that clear before people start commenting that. But he's absolutely right. It's pretty evident. It's been for a bit now, and it's just the fact that the Trouba news and the Goudreau being moved upset this locker room this much still just tells you all you need to know. That's why I always said, like, you can keep the core around. They can make the playoffs. They're not winning 16 playoff games. If they can't handle the adversity of guys getting traded and moved because they're best friends with them, then I'm sorry, but there's just no way they're winning 16 playoff games. Yeah.
I hate the Ricketts. I really do. If you're for Chicago sports fans, we have to deal with so much crap with ownerships. The Ricketts, the McCaskies, Reinsdorfs. I will put Warts in there because the 2000s Hawks fans had to deal with Dollar Bill Warts, who was viewed as the worst owner in professional sports. When Rocky took over, things changed, and Danny, I think, is still on the same page with Rocky. But even though Hawks fans in Chicago can't watch their own games on TV because this new TV network and Xfinity has really screwed up everything.
Just terrible. We own your poverty Mets team, Evan. All fun competition. Where'd Juan Soto go? Fuck off. I'm only messing around, Dylan.
Soto's contract all guaranteed too?
Some of it isn't because there's a vesting option after.
Okay.
I mean, it's pretty much guaranteed because the vesting option he's clearly gonna opt out of because it's something along the lines of he ups the AAV another like $5 million per year if he decides to opt out of the vesting option, and he also gets, I think, $1 million for every MVP he wins when he's here. Wow. So, which is going to be hard to do with Ohtani existing, but sure, why not? Not my money. All right, I think I'm going to wrap up the stream here, though, guys, because the World Juniors is going to be on in a bit. So, yeah, I appreciate everyone tuning in. Nick, I appreciate you jumping on the stream. Do you have anything you want to say and plug your channel before I go?
Well, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it, even though the Hawks got their asses kicked. But, yeah, I basically cover all things Chicago Blackhawks on my side of things. I just did a vlog at the Winter Classic, ranted in that. Just had my own separate review of this entire game myself, just showing how a Blackhawk fan point of view getting full-blown rant mode after this type of loss for this team. But I really appreciate having that you had me on for this.
No, yeah, it's always great talking to you, Nick. And for everyone in the chat, go sub to him. Go check out his work. If you guys want to do it, since some of you are just diabolical and evil, even though the hate watchers aren't here today, if you like laughing at me when I'm mad, go laugh at him when he's mad, because I know I'm not stupid. I see the view count difference with the losses versus the wins. You guys aren't fooling me. So if you guys want to see another a Hawks fan version of me, although slightly more relaxed and calm than me,
this one I was pretty much rant mode this to start for the first 5 minutes of the video.
All right, maybe not this one, but for most games, more tame than me. But I appreciate every single one of you tuning in. Leave a like on your way out. Subscribe if you guys are new to the channel. Turn on your post notifications, and I'll see you guys in the next one.